I think the more we get data, the more we work with the industry, and the more we prove its sustainability, and the more we rat out the people doing the wrong job, then the better. Now we've got a lovely photo of Lyle Squire. Lyle Squire Jr.'s grandfather was one of the first to display marine life from the Great Barrier Reef in an aquarium in Cairns. Now, lots of people have commented to me, Lyle's a very good friend of mine. And now they've said, why has Lyle got a photo of himself in the background? That's not him. That's his grandfather. That's not him. So anyway, you can believe that's Lyle with a photo of himself in the background if you want. But no, he doesn't. He's proud of his grandfather. He's not standing proud in front of a photo of him, picture of himself. But let's pretend he did. Okay. But Lyle Squire Jr., a third-generation coral collector and owner of the biggest coral harvesting operation on the Great Barrier Reef, Cairns Marine, doesn't agree. We are stewards, he said. We're not out to destroy the reef. He believes the industry has minimal impact on the reef. Now, if anyone's going to know, it's this guy. He is a very passionate, very knowledgeable steward of the reef. And he is very interested in the long-term sustainability of his industry. And he does a lot to ensure and influence the long-term sustainability of this industry. So he's someone that actually would know. I could not, in good faith, look myself in the mirror knowing that my grandfather, coral harvesting, my grandfather's licenses are something that I'm abusing and I'm not providing an outcome at the end for my children's children to be able to go on and enjoy the environment. He says, well, absolutely. And I think this guy would be very proud of this guy, because I think he's doing a great job of trying to make sure that the industry, I like the way surely they could have got him in focus. So they've put him out of focus there. You could have, surely you could have put him in focus. So with blurry Lyle here, I think he's doing exactly that. He's doing everything he can to run his business in a way that this guy would be proud. So all these do-gooders that want to make this guy look bad, have a look again, because if you want to make this guy look bad, cool. You can make him look bad. You can make him blurry. You could do whatever you want to him. But the more you get to know him, the more you realize that he's doing a lot to try and make sure the industry is long-term sustainable and that there is an industry for his children and children's children. So what's a little propaganda we've got here going? Coral is protected globally under CITES. Now, here's another conversation we can have. Now, Australia copped some criticism on the handling of the Great Barrier Reef, particularly due to some bleaching events. Now, mind you, those bleaching events, they're very terrible at the time, but within 6 to 12 months, those same reefs look absolutely thriving. I know because I go up and see them. I was up at a reef that was completely bleached about 12 months after it was bleached, and there was no evidence whatsoever of bleaching. The coral takes on its zooxanthellae, brings all its colour back after the temperature goes down, and continues thriving. Now Australia was going to hand over the management of the Great Barrier Reef to CITES as a reaction to Chinese criticism. And Australia actually put together an advisory board. As I understand, at the start of that convention, they had a vote, and majoritively, the delegates at this convention, which were responsible for advising the government, had said, yes, we should hand it over to CITES. We should do the right thing. Then various people, including Anthony Ramsey from the PIAA, Pet Industry Association of Australia, took aside a lot of these people and had one-on-one chats with them. And not only did they not understand a lot of the facts, that most of them actually changed their mind. And besides there being a lot of presentations and so forth on why we should handle the management over to CITES, in the end, they resoundingly voted to not. Because if we'd handed our management over to CITES, it means that they would have CITES listed all our fish and coral, which means our industry would have evaporated. And lots of jobs and lots of money for a potentially sustainable industry would be completely lost. Just like while I was over in Hawaii, and there were signs up basically saying that we're saving the fish, and there was a party that wanted to save the endemic fish, and then they closed the whole Hawaiian reefs, and billions of dollars have been lost, and none of the fish were even in danger. Because PIJAC, the American version of the PIAA, had identified a bunch of species of concern. They had put in their own regulations, and for something like 13 years, the abundance studies had basically said that all of these species are at natural abundance and they are not endangered. So politics and trying to get the green vote is very big here, but we need to do it on fact. Because you know what? No one cares about the Great Barrier Reef. No one cares about the reefs more than aquarists. We want to represent these animals in our aquariums, and we want these animals thriving in the wild. And you know what? We can propagate them. So you give us one, we can turn them into lots. It is a wonderful and sustainable industry. Here at Majestic Aquariums, we have propagated thousands and thousands of corals. And there are thousands of people out there that are propagating thousands of corals. So we are able to, just like someone could give you a plant, and you can grow that plant, and you can create many plants from that plant. That's what we do. Australia exports more than $25 million worth of coral, according to the Queensland government, making it one of the world's biggest players. Most of those exports end up in the United States. On top of all that international trade, there are also domestic market. Yes. Now, Australia sells our corals at a prime money because they are prime quality, and that is money coming into Australia, which Australia needs. And once again, when people are playing by the rules and when the corals are removed sustainably, this is a wonderful advantage for Australia. Now, when people don't play by the rules and people do things that are damaging, that is not what I'm defending. Inside the reefing business, it's a market acrist Andre Cavell supplies from his online coral business run from his home in Sydney. All right, good on you, buddy. Hello, Andre. All of Andre's stock is harvested directly from wild colonies grown on the Great Barrier Reef. He says his customers are like any other pet owner. It's basically a piece of the ocean in their home, he says. It's an incredible piece of artwork. You can switch the telly off and sit back and watch the fish with the little critters and the corals and the way they grow. Yeah. I mean, and look at Andre's corals. They all look beautiful and healthy and thriving and growing. See that there? That, it means it's growing all over the frag plug. By the look at that, Andre has some beautiful, thriving, growing coral. Yep, good on you, Andre. Oh, yeah, I know Andre, actually. Oh, hello, Andre. Yeah, I know you. You look like you're doing a good job, dude. Andre sells corals from the Great Barrier Reef. And now, once again, by the look of his setup, he propagates a lot of coral. So what they're saying he does is he gets one coral, he turns it into potentially tens or hundreds of corals, and then he sells them. Awesome. That's the sort of stuff we should be celebrating, not putting in a scare piece. This should be stuff we're proud of. But the hobby isn't always so relaxed. Reefing, as it's known, is competitive. Well, so is everything. The hobby boasts its own influencers on YouTube who make a living from their ever-expanding home reefs. Yes, and do you know what these people do on YouTube? They teach people how to keep them. They teach people how to respect them. There's some awesome influencers out there, and they do a great job of trying to allow people to understand how beautiful these animals are, to appreciate them, and how to look after them, and how to conserve them. Even I do that. Aside from being sold in classic fish shops and online, small pieces of coral or frags grown by collectors are also sold at rave-like trade shows known as frag swaps, with names such as Reefapalooza, Aquashella, and Fragorama. Well, yes, these events are wonderful events, and these events encourage that people know what they're doing, and good, that's all good. Very happy with all that. These coral frags often are ecstasy-like street names: Bubbles, Candy Cane, Cherry Blossom, Frog Spawn, and so on. Yep. Prices range anywhere from $30 for a tiny frag to $1,000 for a larger mother colony. Yep. My all-time favorite would have to be the Golden Torch, says Andre. Yes, but Andre senses trouble for the industry. Do you, Andre? Because of concerns about harvesting wild coral from the reef, there is a push for the industry to move towards aquaculture. Yes, that is absolutely true. Coral grown in tanks. Now, lots of people are aware of the naivety of many Greens and many Green voting people that want to ban the coral reef for no good reason. They want to ban it because of ideology. Now, I am totally against unsustainable harvest, and I don't believe that. I believe in general, I think Australia's doing an excellent job. So we don't have a big problem, but you will always find a bad apple, and they need to be dealt with. It's long been touted by wild coral harvesters as the solution for their industry. Well, absolutely, because coral fragging is actually very easy and very cheap and very good and very sustainable. So why wouldn't we do it? And of course there's concerns about what if some fruitcake comes and bans the collection on the coral reef? Or what if we do get some really bad players that deserve that? Well, the way that Australia has been set up is that those bad players do get found out, and they do get kicked out, and they do get fined. And I think what Australia is doing is very, very good. So if you read this the wrong way, then this whole lot could look bad. But I think Andre's done a pretty good job. It's all pretty factual. Now there's a bunch of people hanging out looking at corals with unlocking the secrets of coral reproduction. You know what? That's another good thing. You know that there's so many companies, universities, and stuff that are doing absolutely wonderful jobs with coral propagation, clam propagation. It should be like a good feel story, not a bad headlines. Why do you put bad headlines when most of this material is actually really great, unless you interpret it wrong? The problem is that growing coral is tricky. Well, yes and no. As you get more experience, a lot of the corals grow like weeds. It's not that tricky. Some are harder than others. Even Australia's top scientists are yet to crack the secret to coral reproduction on a large scale. Well, they're certainly making a lot of progress, and if we ban corals being collected, then our progress stops. But there is absolutely wonderful progress. For a species like Acropora, which grows quite quickly, aquaculture may work just fine. But it will be bon voyage for those much loved scollies or torches. Yeah, well, that's right. If they ban collection, then there are various species that would absolutely suffer, and it would also mean that we don't get to master those species like we have other species. But with optimism, some companies are pressing ahead. Of course, they're pressing ahead because we're doing a wonderful job of, like, even in the last 5 to 10 years, the amount of progress that the industry has had and how much more species we can propagate is really getting impressive. One of those coral farms located in Cairns, run by a trio of aquarists, Rick, Christian and Shane. When Rick and Christian first got into the coral business, they were harvesting from the Great Barrier Reef. According to Rick, they saw the writing on the wall and believed it was no longer sustainable to harvest wild corals. Now, I think that is very biasly written. Now, these guys are very talented, very passionate, and very capable coral fraggers. And they are doing an excellent job. Now, the fact that they are perfecting their art of coral collection would not for 1 second suggest that they agree with banning coral collection. But they would very much agree with unsustainable practices. Their company is called Sustainable Reefs, for God's sake. So the way that they are writing this would give anyone the impression that these guys see the writing on the wall and want to build a business because they don't believe in coral collection. And that could not be further from the truth, especially considering they were coral collectors or even are coral collectors. But these guys should be, they need to write that to celebrate these guys. These guys should be celebrated. They shouldn't be written in a way that makes you think that they don't agree with coral collection. Because really what these guys are doing is an absolute credit to them and our industry. And they're really, they're doing it. They're propagating coral. We should be celebrating these guys, not putting them in an article that make them look bad. The same as Andre. He looks to be doing a great job to me. He's got corals clearly growing onto the frags. Then we've got Lyle Squire, an absolute role model. And these are the guys we should be celebrating. This guy, he's a cool picture. So why you've got all of these people in a headline to make the industry look bad, here with this grumpy looking bozo. And if we had coral that had bleached, we'd look like this guy too. We wouldn't be happy either. Because we're not out to kill coral, we're out to grow it and collect it sustainably. So here we've got the sharpshooter. That's one of the Cairns Marine boats. Now, mind you, this is a state-of-the-art boat. I've been over to Indonesia and some of the places where they collect in a canoe with a hammer, a chisel, and a bucket. They throw all the corals in a bucket and they take it to a collection station where it just gets chucked in a tank with an air bubbler in it. In Australia, we collect using state-of-the-art collection techniques. We put onto state-of-the-art collection boats and we take it to state-of-the-art collection stations, and then we ship using state-of-the-art collection or shipping techniques, which is the envy of the world. And that's why our corals are not cheap, because we do it the best. And we in the industry should be very, very proud of what we're doing. Give us a smile, buddy. Smile, yeah, there's a good smile. You deserve to smile. Putting in a piece like this that initially looks bad, but then when you read it and you actually look at what's being said, you know, we should be proud of ourselves in this industry. We shouldn't be a part of a stress piece like this. We should be celebrating what we're doing. Okay, so here we go. It took them 2 years to transition to an aquaculture business, and even now there are times where they have no choice but to buy coral from harvesters. Yes, because they need new things to conquer, because they are conquering what they're doing. Rick believes the industry's future is aquaculture. Yes, because you know what? As an industry, we want to be sustainable, and Rick is right. A lot of the industry, if they've got a choice between buying something that is aquarium hardied and fragged in an aquarium, a lot of people will choose that over a natural one, especially if the price is right. It might not be as much money as we're making now, but if we want an industry, we want to be in the trade at all, then we have to do something, he says. Yep, couldn't agree more with Mr. Rick. Okay, export faces choppy waters. Australian international coral trade is also in trouble with fears it's not sustainable. Absolutely. Fears and fear-mongering. Mainly people that don't know. Maybe the people that read headlines like these stupid headlines and make you think that this is a bad industry. And you know what? Bad things happen. But Australia should be very proud of itself and the way that it conducts its industry. Now, in 2022, both the EU and UK issued ban on... You've already said that. Now you're saying it again. Now I've looked at it, and they've got a ban on 5 species that probably don't travel well, and here you are trying to make that look like they're banning our corals. What a lie. The reality is they love our corals, and they're happy to